1 hour, 43 minutes, 37 seconds, 27th of a second. That's 1 hour, basically, and 43 minutes of a hike time. Probably maybe Saturday we're gonna look at steps and see how much we'll do on the steps, all right? So what we're doing is each time that I jog, I go from one point to another point. And I basically start from one point, I go all the way to that point. The second time, or the other time that I jog the next day, I go a little bit further each time. That way the jog is consistent and it goes all the way through, just a little bit. So when I start with a jog. Once I get to that point, and I go a little bit further than the day before, then I go on to a hike, which is kind of like cross-country walking or those elliptical things, very similar to that, all right? We're gonna shorten the vlog to 30 minutes. Our goal is to have a 30-minute vlog daily. All right, just to let you know, I am the one that wrote the screenplay and the book, Escape from Maine, and there's a reason for that. I'll never return to Maine again unless I have $1 million in my bank account. That's the only way I'm ever gonna return to that state ever again. True story. It's a poverty-stricken state. It's full of factory workers, and most people there are very, very poor. All right, it's May 26, 2023. You can see the little white paws. Here, we'll just bring him up. He's fat. Overweight kitty. Don't calm down. There he goes. Okay, calm down. Shh. Welcome to the Please Subscribe show with your host, moi, Cole Spivey. This is Edmund, my cat. His full name is Edmund Tuxedo Cassavetes. He's a black-white cat. We're headed to Apple. All right, kitty. You have your condo. I remember to get this right here. You have your whale shark tunnel and your scratching post. Enjoy your day. You're on a diet. You're drinking water. I'll bring you some dry food tonight. You get some wet food later. All right. 177,920 miles. Almost hit the blinker. It's 89 degrees Fahrenheit. May 26, 2023. Welcome back to the Please Subscribe show. We're going to Apple Store. All right, this woman right here is the office of Congresswoman Kay Granger. Is a big fan of the show.
I don't carry your armor.
All right, those people from Michigan, since they didn't get their way for 2 seconds, to get ahead for 2 seconds, they nearly ran me off the road and killed me. And I got their license plate, so they're from Michigan. It says Pure Michigan in the back of on their license plate. They nearly ran me off the road and killed me. So I'm actually here at a Hilton Garden, and believe it or not, it's actually pretty nice. They have a fireplace right here, and a pretty nice lobby. They've got internet too. Looks like I'm not the only person that has a problem getting NBC, because it's been lagging out. I'm here at a Hilton Garden, and I got NBC because my antenna doesn't get NBC, but I guess it lags out. It hadn't been lagging out like recently, but it lagged out a couple of times. I tried changing to Fox. That's one of the most entertaining judges. It's Judge Judy. She's very entertaining. She deserves a lot of awards. She's one of the best. All right, I was watching some Casey Neistat, and I heard he keeps all his footage on a big supercomputer, and congratulations, that's fine. I keep it all on YouTube, mostly. I do have stuff on a tower computer, and I do have stuff on an exports from some feature films that I did. That was Garden Hilton. They've got great internet, and went there to use some of the internet stuff. You'll be able to see Garden right there, Hilton Garden Inn. They're very good internet, like in super speed. I was able to upload a bunch of stuff about Linda being drunk on Facebook, and hopefully she'll get help. Alcoholism kills not only the person that's trying to endure the alcohol, it's Hilton Garden right there, but it also kills other people. So alcoholics are very dangerous. They don't need to have vehicles, and they kill families, okay? So we know that. You get 3 strikes. They're from Alabama right there. They get 3 strikes. An alcoholic gets 3 strikes in the state of Texas. The first time they get pulled over, they get a DWI. The second time, another DWI, which is 2 misdemeanors. The third time, a felony, and they go to prison for 10 years, or they get a $10,000 fine. Actually, they actually go to prison for 10 years. That's what's gonna happen to you if you drink and drive. Hilton Garden Inn, good internet. Now we're gonna have some internet. We're gonna have some food at Jason's Deli. I'm a foodie. I don't like alcohol. And they've got copyright music here, so you have to be careful. There's their sign right there. Drink it away. Got a little bit of copyright, but I don't think you can hear it. Yeah, it sounds like it. So really, just imagine it then. And that's where the protein is right here. So you get the protein and the salad. Okay, I've got to do a upload, so I have to do an export because I have to keep. So you have to watch this grape go into my mouth. Okay, and that's all you get to watch on this one. We might have found an area that doesn't have a lot of copyright, but I have to export while I eat my food. Yep, there goes the copyright. So before the song kicks in, you get to watch me eat this. And a big stab right here. Big old stab right here. Big old stab. Right there in my mouth. Good food right here. And, you know what? I might as well do what Paul Newman did. My salad. Let's go. Cool Hand Luke. See, Cool Hand Luke is very good. I do watch out for the fat though. Right there. So it boils down to pure muscle. And we got copyright above us. Have a good one. So we're just gonna go into Apple real quick and just kind of look around, see how their internet's doing, things like that. So what I thought was interesting about Genius Bar is they actually have a bar at the front where you can talk to an Apple advisor or whatever you want to call them to, you know, either fix your phone or find yourself a new computer or an Apple Watch, whatever it is that you want. They'll do all the work here and they'll talk you into getting what's known as Apple Protection. It's pretty cool. So I talked to someone named Shannon at, I think this is 314. I don't know the exact store number, but it is on University or near TCU. And she's saying that Apple has limited access to like your Verizon, for example, because whenever you get an Apple phone, they can actually connect you to Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. Meaning they can launch out the phone you get and get you cellular service, and they can do that limit, like a limited amount, so they don't get your account information. But Verizon's still accountable, because if they sell you a phone, they're accountable for what they sell you. Verizon would be. Same thing with Apple. Same thing with T-Mobile. Same thing with, I guess you would say, AT&T. So they're all accountable on what they sell you. So I'm going to talk to them and say, okay, well, what do y'all do to your phones, like Verizon, for example, or T-Mobile or AT&T? What do y'all do to your phones that are like different than if I went to like an Apple store and got my own phone? What would be the difference? This is the Genius Bar right here. All right, we're at Apple. And we have found some information about your cellular provider. So, Shannon, I think was her name, I think I said it earlier, she told me some information about transferring your Apple product. Now, let's say you buy an Apple phone. They can hook up your cellular, like if it's Verizon or if it's AT&T, or let's say it's a T-Mobile, okay? They can hook it up. But you might want to go to your provider and ask them if they do diagnostics on the phone, because Apple may be different. They have what's very popular there. It's known as Apple Safe something. It's to help you if the phone, it's almost like a warranty. So if something were to happen, you can, and they said if your provider would take you, meaning your provider would send you to an Apple store anyway. So, but I don't know if their diagnostics are the same as what Verizon would do, or if AT&T would do diagnostics, or let's say if T-Mobile did some type of diagnostics before they sold the phone to you, meaning they do pre-diagnostics. I've heard that they do, so I don't know if Apple does, but they do have a safe plan or some kind of Apple plan that helps protect the phone. I don't know the name of it though. It's some kind of warranty program, and they can protect the phone. And they're all the way from Tennessee. Now let's go pick up some CaneRosso. I don't know what they bought. They bought a margarita pizza and brisket lasagna. So we're gonna go pick up your margarita pizza and your brisket lasagna and drop it off at your doorstep. I gotta get the exact amount. All right, we're gonna go 2.1 miles. Be there 9 minutes. It'll be 7:47 in the PM. Now, there is Superman in Fort Worth. We're gonna go by and really look at him. I didn't get to, there's a cat over that way right there. I didn't get to go see, I didn't get to see him though. Basically, it's right here. It's a mural at a car wash. Here he comes, Superman. It's a Fort Worth thing. University Car Wash, Fort Worth Car Wash. You can see both of them up there, and that's Superman with Lois Lane. And what was her name? She had the weirdest name. The actress that played Lois Lane.
Margot Kidder.
Now, Christopher Reeve played the Richard Donner directed Superman. So Richard Donner directed a movie called Superman, and he used a guy named Christopher Reeve, who later was afflicted by an equestrian accident, where he basically went, well, he was paralyzed from the first vertebrae down. It was a horrible, horrible accident. He fell off a horse. And Christopher Reeve, I think you pronounce it Christopher Reeve, but there's also Christopher Reeves.
George Reeves.
But anyway, there's two of them. There's Christopher Reeve, and he was also Superman, and then there's Christopher Reeves. But regardless, he fell off a horse, and he became paralyzed. Now, when we play this game, and Adam the Woo plays it, he plays a game that says, Nana Nana Boo Boo, I know and you don't. And that game in the long run doesn't work, and it doesn't work in heaven. You know, a know-it-all doesn't necessarily get to heaven. A person that knows everything doesn't necessarily go to heaven. You wouldn't even believe how much drunk people know, or how much an alcoholic. They're nearly prophetic. You know what prophetic means? And they're nearly a prophet. They'll know what you're thinking before you even know, and you won't even figure them out. That's how smart drunk people are. But they don't get to heaven. But let me tell you something, it does ruin their mind. When you drink too much, it's like puncturing little holes in your brain. Then they get to the point where they can't even count. It can get that bad. But they still know stuff, though, because of the infliction that they put upon other people and the affliction that they put on themselves. It's about the same thing the devil knows. So the one with Richard Donner, the Superman, was played by Christopher Reeve. Okay? So there is a Christopher
George Reeves.
He also played Superman. But Christopher Reeve, without the S, was the one and only Superman of Richard Donner's direction. Okay? Richard Donner did a whole series of Supermans. I think Superman 1, 2, and 3. Or at least did 1 and 2, I think. I'll have to double check, but I know he did 1. Richard Donner did Christopher... Well, Richard Donner directed... He directed Superman under Christopher Reeve. As in Reeve, as in R-E-E-V-E. There's more than one type of Christopher Reeve. There's probably millions and millions and millions of Christopher Reeves. But you would say Christopher Reeve. Fear is the number one thing the enemy wants to put into you. That's how he gets his way. His tool is fear. Okay? So if he can put fear in you, then he can get his way. But you have to trust in the Lord and know that the Lord loves and cares about you. Jesus Christ loves and cares about you and will watch over you. And all the evil things that people want to do to you are an illusion. They're not even real. Do you know why? Because they're going to burn in hell. And let me explain something. People do burn in hell. It's part of Christianity. People burn in hell. And this is what happens to them, okay? They burn in hell for a certain amount of time. And God makes a decision on whether he's going to put them in what's known as a lake of fire. And when they go into the lake of fire, they become nothing. That's why they're an illusion. They're not really here. The evil people that are doing evil things in the world constantly, those people are not really here. They're not really here. Because God has decided almost in a predestination, okay? I know the English is tough. The English is tough. But in a predestined way, he has decided to put them in the lake of fire. So they're an illusion. They're not really here. They never really were here. That's why you always see those weird, mysterious kind of movies where the person just vanishes and disappears. You ever seen that before? You ever seen a movie where the bad guy or whoever may be in the movie, all of a sudden, they just vanish? I think M. Night Shyamalan has shown it once in one of his movies. Where all of a sudden, there's no answer. The person just vanishes and disappears. That's because God has made the decision to put that person into the lake of fire. So they're the type of person where you turn around and you look, all of a sudden, and they're not there anymore. Because God put them in the lake of fire and they don't exist. He does not want certain type of people that have committed certain sins against other people to exist. So they don't even get to burn in hell. They burn in hell for a while for their punishment. Then when they're done, God goes to them and asks them one more time, are you going to be stubborn? Are you going to surrender to me? And like a little brat, a B-R-A-T, they say, no, I'm not going to surrender. And they get put into the lake of fire and they disappear. They're an illusion. They're no longer around anymore. They're an illusion because they're going into the lake of fire to be burned for all of time. But nope. That's the thing. Not for all of time. It's not for all of time. They become nothing. They become not even only an illusion, they become nothing. It's as if they burned them up into ash and they become nothing. Does that make sense? It's important to understand because the devil will burn in hell forever and probably will be the only one. And all his dominion and all the ones that surround him will be burned into the lake of fire and they will become non-existent. They will no longer exist. They will become nothing. Right? They'll no longer be here. You ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that you were no longer here? Maybe people didn't pay attention to you as much while you walked the streets and begged for money? Because God has predestined you to burn in hell and then to become nothing. There's a difference between if in your mind, you're like, I could probably handle burning in hell for all of time. I could handle that. But could I handle being non-existence?
Think of that. If you were non-existence to me, you would never be able to bother me. So how are you going to bother God in hell when you beg for a drop of water? That'll still bother God. God will place you into the lake of fire so you won't be able to whine anymore. You won't be able to cry out in pain and agony anymore. You'll be non-existent. You won't even exist anymore. That's where you're going if you don't surrender your life over to Jesus Christ. Now let's talk about Richard Donner and Christopher Reeve. Okay? R-E-E-V-E. There's a reason I have a vlog, right? Because that doesn't matter. That's what you call trivia. But what matters is that you, my friend, are going to be non-existent. Here in this world, you are something. Here in this world, you matter. But where you're going is non-existence. And don't forget it. All right, we pulled into CaneRosso. We're going to pick up your margarita pizza and brisket lasagna. I had made the post on my Facebook about the illegal drugs and pretty much sex trafficking that's going on at Hunter Hill's apartment. It's not a good place at all. It's very, very, very criminal. So hopefully the police will get this and get it, that and make the bus and help out the lady that's being held there in bondage. So we're gonna go over here in just a moment and check out this big mural. It looks pretty cool. All right. So I made the report about Hunter Hill's apartment, and there is trafficking going there. I've been there a few times. It's probably the most uncomfortable place I've ever been to in my entire life. The first time I pulled up, there was like an undercover cop there. The place is pretty bad. Now, Linda told me next door there's a Kroger and there's a parking lot. Well, Kroger provides their own parking lot, so it's Kroger's parking lot. They've got a big Dallas Police Department camera thing that has the blue thing, the blue light on it. Well, she said that she saw a RV come in there, and she went inside the RV, and the guy had tons of meth, and he was selling it right there in that parking lot. I think Dustin English is connected to that. So he's selling and buying methamphetamine, and he's transferring that to East Texas to a black guy named Antoine. And Linda knows about it because she's been out to East Texas with him, to this guy, Antoine, who lives in like a trailer or something like that. And I put it in the book, Chin. So I'm doing this for Linda's protection because I care about Linda, and I think she needs to be sober. I don't think she needs to be around Dustin English because Dustin English is a criminal. He has a criminal record, and he's been to jail for it. Anyway, this is the mural right here. And I'm going to report any type of crime that I come across, especially when it deals with drugs, because Channing Freelove was killed over such a thing. And she was my good friend in high school and in college. And her and her best friend were killed over drugs and things like that. So if I see a pipe or if I see any type of drug paraphernalia, I immediately report it to the police. I've always been that way. My name's Cole Spivey, and welcome to the Please Subscribe Show. We are a drug-free show. We're anti-drug, so we're against any type of drug. We don't even take aspirin. We occasionally drink soda, like Pepsi and Dr. Pepper, things like that. And then Coke Zero, but we do not deal at all with anybody. We do not sit down and have a meal with anybody that's involved with drugs. We do not communicate with them. We do not appreciate them. We want them kicked out of the country. We want them removed from the country or put in prison, one of the two. And if they go to Mexico, they get chopped up because a lot of them tried to run off to Mexico. But anyway, these are basically really cool murals. They look like they've just been put up there by people. Anyway, so we monitor criminal behavior, and that goes for anyone. If we see it with Adam the Woo, we'll make sure Adam the Woo goes to prison too. And his father, JWW. and his mother too. We don't care who's involved with it. If they're involved with it for any reason, we'll investigate it and we'll have them arrested. That goes for his entire crew in Florida. We're not afraid of any of them. So, Adam, this is a message to you, Adam the Woo. If you're dealing in drugs or trafficking, get off YouTube. If I see you on there again, I will make sure my people arrest you. So you better be clean. Because I know your tattoos don't look clean. And you don't act clean. So you better start acting square, buddy. Real quick. Because we will stop you. We will stop you in all your popularity. As of now. As of right now. Little brat. Here's a Fort Worth Weekly. Looks like a summer edition, so it looks like a pretty good one. Here. I don't know much about Free Play, but it's right next to CaneRosso. So we're picking up the, I guess it's a margarita pizza and a brisket lasagna. It's copyright city though. If you go into Free Play, it's just too copyright. Sounds like a good song. Unfortunately, it's copyrighted. We'll be there at 8:28 on the arrival time. I did learn about Linda. She got a public intoxication charge. Well, here's the thing. She's in her car when she does it. I don't know her ancestry, okay? Her last name is Gray. But on her mother's side, it comes from Heidel, which is Hayden. But she takes the keys and she puts them underneath the tire. She'll put them underneath the tire, and then she gets a public intoxication charge rather than a DWI, and that's not fair. You know, she should get what she deserves. Because if she kills a family, and I have kids myself, and she goes out there drunk and kills a family, that's it for her. That's life in prison. There's no waiting for the first DWI and get a misdemeanor, and the second DWI and get a misdemeanor, and the third DWI and get a felony and $10,000 charge and 10 years in prison. That's what they get. They get 10 years in prison for driving drunk behind the wheel, right? So it's not fair that certain people out there, because of their nation, get a public intoxication when they should get a DWI. Because if you're driving even tipsy, you can get a drinking while intoxicated, or driving under the influence. I think we should do that for the safety of the public. And same thing with Dustin too. If he drives drunk, he gets a misdemeanor for the first time. He gets a misdemeanor for the second time. And the third time that Dustin drives drunk, he goes to prison for 10 years and a $10,000 fine. So drive drunk and see what happens. And that goes with driving high too. Drive high and see what happens. I dare you. Right, we're coming up to some cool areas of Fort Worth. You can buy antiques right here. In this area, in this vicinity, there's another place that's like this right here. That's Art 5th and Main. And Gracie Toon was one of the directors of dance there. And she taught like tango dances or tango classes, and they directed plays there and all kinds of stuff. It's a great place. Art's 5th and Main. It's pretty cool. Tommy Tune was connected to that too. He was known as the king of Broadway, and he was connected right down where I was raised off of Willing Street,
Avenue,
which is right down this way. it's kind of turned into kind of a happy place, you know. My stepdad, Maynard Earl Reeves, who assaulted me, lived right over here off of Willing Street.
Avenue.
Yeah, he got mad because he didn't get his way because of the air conditioner, so he assaulted me over an air conditioner. He jumped on top of me and assaulted me. The police were going to take him away, but I chose not to press charges, which I was stupid for doing that. But I went ahead and let him go, and he ran off to Maine with my mother. But I should have pressed charges right then for assaulting me because he would have assault charges against him. But that police officer was a Yankee. That was the major problem. The police officer that arrested him was a New Yorker. He was a Yankee. A lot of them come down here to inflict their crime upon Southerners, just like they did in the Civil War. But I could not bring myself to arresting him. There's a little kitty cat right there running off into the alleyway. My mime director, Johnny Simons, lived over here. If I'm not mistaken, it was on one of these corners right over here. It's a smaller house. They turned the basement part into a house. Well, actually, that's the other way around. They turned the attic into like a bedroom. That's what I meant to say. I don't know if it had a basement, but they did have an attic that was right here. Yeah, it's right here. That's Johnny Simon's old house right there. They turned the attic into a bedroom for Lorca and Lake, and they lived up there in the attic. So this is like the Times Square of Fort Worth, Texas. It's right between or right across from Rosedale and 8th Avenue. And there's even a cheap drugstore right there, just like in Times Square. All right, this is known as Midtown. Midtown has a Jason's Deli, Midtown Medical, a Homewood Suites, and a Hilton Garden Inn. And right next to the Hilton Garden Inn is a Fuzzy Taco, which is pretty good. It's a pretty good one. The Hilton Garden Inn has good internet, and it's relaxing. They got a fireplace and a television. It's pretty cool, too. Don't forget to see Killers of the Flower Moons, Martin Scorsese's genius. This tree right here, and that is known as a magnolia flower. That's a magnolia tree. It means fell from the sky. All right, that's the Hilton Garden Inn. We're gonna go in and sit by the fireplace and maybe watch a little TV. I was thinking about maybe reading some of this, keeping up with reading. I love this show. She was the daughter of James Mansfield. Sorry, I just find television amazing. The daughter of James Mansfield. She has a very complex name. I'm gonna look it up because I mentioned her in a play one time I